Chicago Bears go to Michigan's Pro Day. Who could they be scouting at Michigan? There's actually a couple of players that fit what the Chicago Bears could be needing. Also, an insider talks about what the Chicago Bears could be looking to do at the number 10 pick. And we're going to talk about a surprising draft prospect that could pop up for the Chicago Bears at the safety position. We're going to get into all and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Derwin James, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And our Chicago Bears are all focused on the draft at this point. We know that they signed yesterday Nick Emmanwori, a defensive back / special team specialist, to add some more depth on that special team side of the ball. But really, everything's kind of geared up and focused right now on the Chicago Bears and what they do with the draft. The Bears have earned that luxury through what they've done in free agency to add to the team to make sure that this team is solid in all facets of the game. And now they get to take that over the top with hopefully what they do in the NFL draft. And to do that, you got to scout. And the one thing the Bears have done throughout the years since Ryan Poles has got here, they really look at all the data possible. You see them looking at a lot of different prospects. Well, the Chicago Bears this time showed up to Michigan's Pro Day, and there's a couple of players that actually make some sense for the Chicago Bears there. Of course, you're going to hear a lot of Mason Graham there, the defensive tackle, and what that could mean for the Chicago Bears. It's a guy that, with them getting Grady Jarrett, I don't know how much they look at Mason Graham, but he's there at Michigan's Pro Day. Also, Will Johnson, the cornerback there, who we talked a lot about. And, Darius, I think, also called in on Will Johnson. This is a guy that if the Bears were to, now, cornerback isn't something that's high on the priority list. I've talked about Tyreek Stevenson and how, despite it being a down season, he was still a perfectly good starting level cornerback and where he ranked in a lot of places. Yeah, he made some boneheaded decisions and he did some things, but Tyreek Stevenson is still a pretty solid player. But, if they do want to do something outside the box, Will Johnson is another guy there. And then Colston Loveland as well as tight end there, right? Who all three of those guys are likely guys that's going to be gone on day one of the NFL draft, but they are all kind of different positions that the Chicago Bears, have been rumored to be interested in this draft, and it makes a lot of sense. Now, Colston Loveland is a guy that 56 receptions, 518 yards, 5 touchdowns, is an average of 10.4 yards per reception as a tight end in Michigan's offense. This is another guy that has a lot of talent, right? Even though, I have my doubts on how much of high on the priority list that tight end is. There's been a lot of rumors in regards to the Bears and tight ends and Cole Kmet and those type of things. But Michigan has a lot of talented players on their roster, and going to Michigan's Pro Day was a perfect thing, right? So it was Ben Johnson and defensive coordinator Dennis Allen who were at Michigan's Pro Day. And so, listen, cool. The Bears need to take a look at everything, right? Graham, if he does fall there to the Bears at number 10, man, I mean, Graham is one of those interior defensive linemen that, would add not only depth, but at that point in time, would the Bears have one of the best interior defensive line rotations when you look at Javon Dexter, Grady Jarrett, still got Andrew Billings, then you're adding potentially Graham to that. I don't think there's really a place of him falling to number 10. I think he's going to be taken off the board long before that, but that guy is a absolute monster of a player. So, we'll see what happens there. You look at Loveland. I already talked about him as a tight end. Makes a lot of sense in Ben Johnson's offense, so I'm not too surprised there either. And so, we'll see. There's another defensive tackle as well, Kenneth Grant, also who could be an option there for the Chicago Bears, who they could take a look at with one of their second-round picks at either 39 or 41 if they want to, go defensive line and still add something. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But I think, they're doing their due diligence. That's the thing that the Bears are always going to do. That's what smart teams do. And the Bears are just showing up at pro days, looking to see what they got. But, with that said, everybody's kind of questioning what are the Bears going to do at number 10, right? There's a few players that I think make sense. Like we heard, before, if Will Campbell falls to number 10, the Bears will take him. We've heard, of course, Ashton Jeanty. Depending on how you look at mocks, Jeanty's kind of fallen down some mocks, surprisingly enough. and we'll see what happens there. But I think, some believe Tyler Warren, some believe Ashton Genty, some, of course, believe Will Campbell, things like that. There's a lot of players that, Bears fans could be interested in and taking a look at, right? But, one thing that's been brought up recently is Greg Gabriel, talked about the Bears having a possibility to trade down. Now, here's the thing, and I've said this before. It comes about the evaluation, and that's what Ryan Poles has really based a lot of his draft decisions on, is the evaluation of the players that he sees there. He pairs that with what he can get by trading back and the asset that he's getting back. What any good team or good GM should do when they're trading back in the draft, right? Now, it really, I think, depends on who falls at number 10. And a couple of episodes ago, I talked about the different scenarios that could really impact what the Bears do at number 10. Is Ashton Genty off the board, right? Is Will Campbell off the board? Is Armand Minbow off the board, right? Are these guys off the board to where it no longer, like, the Bears can look at it and say, well, we can get a Marion Hampton, who actually in some of the latest mocks actually has fallen to round 2, which would be crazy to see. But I think you got to identify the guys that you would be very open to drafting at number 10. And one of the guys that I do think as well that's there that hasn't really been talked about a whole lot is Jalen Walker. Now, he can play the linebacker or defensive end. It really depends on what position you see him going forward in his NFL career. But he's a guy that hasn't been talked a lot about. I don't know if he falls at number 10 to the Chicago Bears, but it is somebody that is worth bringing up there. But I think that, it depends on who's all off the board. If, for example, Shamar Stewart is off the board, if Mason Graham is off the board, Armand Minbow is off the board, somehow Abdul Carter and a guy like Ashton Genty are all off the board, I think that, and I think that's a slim possibility that all those guys are off the board at number 10. I think it's really good. But even if they do fall, it's the evaluation of, all right, can we get similar production out of a player later on, right? And that's what the Bears have to kind of figure out here over it. Like, the mocks are going to change up and down every single day. But I don't know if in this draft it's necessarily about, like, don't get me wrong, if Ryan Poles does trade back, he is going to get more assets, whether it's in this draft or next year's draft. But I don't know if that's necessarily the focus, where sometimes it's like, let's trade back, let's accumulate more assets. We feel pretty confident. I think it's just about the separation that you see between who you can get at number 10 and where you can get those positions at later on in the draft, and the separation there based off who's left, right? So the Bears have a tough decision to ask themselves. I didn't even mention Tyler Warren, who's still there, another guy who the latest mock by the Draft Network has Tyler Warren going 14th to the Indianapolis Colts. So if the Bears really are interested there, we've heard Mikael Williams being an interesting prospect there for the Bears. He's slated to go, by this draft, the Draft Network mock draft, number 17th, right? So if the Bears can get that level of talent by trading back, for example, just using the Tyler Warren, for example, if the Bears can trade back and still get Tyler Warren in that draft and pick up assets, Ryan Poles has done it again, right? So it's about that value that you find in those positions, and we'll see where the Bears fall with that at, man. I think overall, we'll see what they do. Again, they've earned the luxury of going best player available or trading back or whatever it is because of how they've operated through free agency, through their trades, how they've accumulated players. They've really earned that right now to look at that and go into this draft really with a lot of things at their disposal. The flexibility that the Bears have in the draft is going to be something that hopefully breeds them getting the best talent and just making the best maneuvers to continue to put this team in the proper place that they need to be in. And the Bears have done some work here, man. I love to see what the Bears have done here. I love to see a team that's moving intentionally, right? They've gone through free agency in such a way that has just it's shored up a lot for the Bears. Now, it hasn't painted a complete picture. We definitely still got some things where we can either need depth or new starter at, depending on how you look at some things. But the Bears have definitely opened up that possibility to do some special things in those cases. We just got to see if they're going to do it, man, or what they do. They're going to do something, right? Like, they're not going to sit out the draft, but what they do and how they go about it. But I think we're going to see a nice bit of maneuvers, a nice bit of momentum to all get the team in the right spot, right? And that's just what this is about, right? It's all about getting the right talent, the right mix of talent for this coaching staff, and to fit in with what we already have here. Because let's be clear as well, like the Bears, and still having talent, like some of the people that Bears fans have been down on are still going to play an important role for this team, right? Swift is still a guy that I think is better than what people are giving him credit for. I already talked about Tyreek Stevenson. This is going to be a prove-a year for Tremaine Edmonds because If Tremaine Edmonds doesn't have a really good year this year, I think just because of the money and the level of production, he's probably going to be waived next year to create a little bit more cap space for the Bears. So what we do here, right? You're going to start seeing, and I think Ryan Poles has always done this, you're going to start seeing how that kind of factors into what they're looking for next year as well, right? But we'll talk a little bit more about that. But one of the guys that's recently popped up as a trade back scenario for the Chicago Bears is Nick Emmanwori, I believe is how you pronounce his name. This is a guy that absolutely killed it in the draft combine. A 4.4 40, he ran a 4.3 840 as well on his second attempt. And this is a guy that when you look at what he did with South Carolina with the Gamecocks last year, 57 solo tackles he had last year. 57 of those. He had 88 total tackles, 2 passes deflected, 4 interceptions. This guy is a safety at 6'3", 227 pounds. I tell you what, right? If you're looking for either a long-term replacement, not long-term replacement, a long-term guy in that backfield with in that secondary, I should say, with Jaquan Brisker, Nick Emmanwori brings all of that. If you're looking for a guy that, if for some reason that they aren't confident that Jaquan Brisker is going to stay healthy, you need a replacement for that, Nick Emmanwori can bring that. Now, this is a guy that's going to go on day one, though, right? So either the Bears would have to pick up, trade up, or get another first-round pick, or they'd be trading back when it comes down to it. But I think Emmanwori is a guy you sometimes see guys that rise up in the draft, right? And because of the draft combine, there's some doubt. Like, how good is this guy actually? How much is it just because of the nature of the draft combine and the stats there? But then when you go and look at this guy's tape, right? I would say this, the tape in a lot of ways makes like the draft combine even look like a little bit of an undercut for him. This is a talented guy. The speed, the strength, the size, right? The fact that he doesn't miss a lot of tackles. He's a guy that also can attack the ball and develop into a ball hawk. I love this guy's mentality. I love what he brings there. And I think that he's a smart player as well, right? Very smart as far as the IQ measurables on that. I can see Dennis Allen absolutely loving this kid. The question, though, is that while he's been mentioned by some people as a potential trade back candidate for the Chicago Bears, like I said, have no doubts, none, zero, none, that Dennis Allen absolutely loves this guy. But I think it really depends on what do you want to do with your other positions, right? Do you feel confident going tackle? Either offense or defense tackle in the second round? Are you going to get a running back in that second or third round, right? Those type of things. But if you go out and get a guy like Nick Emmanwori, who I think can instantly be a guy that you talk about Dennis Allen's aggressive attacking style of defense that he said that he wants to play, Emmanwori fits all of that. 6'3", 227 pounds, like I said. He is a guy that he's a hybrid guy that, some people he's like a mix between a safety and a linebacker when it comes down to it. Like, this is a guy that when you look at it, I think when it comes down to it, Emmanwori is a monster, and the evolution that he can bring as well on that defensive side of the ball, it's impressive, man. So late first round, early second round, I would say this: if he does fall to the second round, and you can get him, whether the Bears move up, trade up, whatever it is, and you get Nick Emmanwori there, I tell you what, that could be one of the steals in the draft. Not just a steal, it could be the steal in the draft. You look at Derwin James as a guy that's a comparable for him as well. The athleticism that he brings there, I love it when it comes down to it. And we'll see what happens, man. We will see what happens. Hey, I think that that's a really good pickup potentially for the Chicago Bears if they decide to go out there and get that. And we'll see what they do there, man. But with that said, I want to get something to the mailbag. We usually do it on Mondays, do some catch up. But Bobby was on yesterday. We didn't really have time. Let's get into these mailbags. This one's from Darius.
What's going on, guys? Old Darius from Dallas, man. I just wanted to call on the latest episode that Hayes and Bobby did. Always love when y'all two get together, by the way, man. I hope we can see that more often. No disrespect to the other guys, man. I love y'all too, but I love when we see Hayes and Bobby kind of bouncing their opinions off one another. That's always entertaining to me. So I definitely enjoyed that last episode. But speaking of, I just wanted to comment on the Caleb. Y'all were talking about him a lot. I think the most important thing for Caleb this year is to build trust with his offensive line. Okay? That is the main thing that's holding him back. The only thing holding him back, in my opinion. Because I think last year he saw a lot of ghosts out there on the field. When I say out on the field, I don't mean downfield with a secondary or anything like that. I'm talking about pass rushing, man. I think people are downplaying how hard it is to play quarterback when you don't trust your offensive line. You know, like if every time you walked outside of your car, outside of your house, and on the way to your car, every morning you got attacked by a damn cougar or something, you would overthink the process of going to your car every morning, then wouldn't you? It's dude, he doesn't have time to process it because within a second or two, he's got somebody in his lap. Guys, that's hard to play quarterback like that. So I think the biggest thing for Caleb this year is the offensive line to prove themselves to him that, hey, man, we got you. You can relax, go through your progressions, and that's where we're going to see some development from him. I think until he is that's why he's running all over the place. And maybe that might even go back to when he was playing at Oklahoma. When he got thrown in, when he was at Oklahoma, right at his introductory to high level football first game, he got thrown in and when that game was going bad. That game was not going good. I think it was against my Longhorns, if I remember correctly. So, he went in there and danced around and dazzled around and overcame the offensive line issues that they were having. And I think he's just accustomed to that. Caleb is accustomed to, I can't depend on my offensive line. When we change that thinking and get that trust in that offensive line, I think he's going to be solid, man. We don't have nothing to worry about. Also, I've been seeing a lot about Mason Graham potentially slipping down to that 10 spot. I'm not a Bears fan that's going to be pissed off if we don't grab a player. I always assume the GM knows more than me. But listen, if Mason Graham is there at 10 and we don't snag him, we might have to have a conversation the next day on Chicago Bears Central, man. But let me know what y'all think. Check this out, Bear Down.
Love the point that you made about Caleb trusting the O-line. Because I think that's a big thing, right? When you don't have to run for your life, that's when you can really see and I think the Bears did a good job at eliminating that question for Caleb now, right? Like putting him in a position where now it's about your progressions. It's about how you go in the decisions that you make, right? Now, there's still going to be some, like every quarterback goes under pressure. How he deals with that pressure is an important part of the evaluation as well. But I think when it comes down to it, like him trusting that offensive line, yeah, you want to do that because when you don't trust your line and you don't trust that you're going to have time, you're kind of more focused on that, or you rush through your decisions. Not to say that throws Caleb all the bail. It does not. Caleb absolutely has things that he needs to work on and grow on as a quarterback. Not saying that Caleb Williams is some perfect prospect that gets everything right, that it's just the O-line. No, Caleb has his things that he needs to grow through as well. But by eliminating those questions that you have on the offensive line, by eliminating or adding more time that he can make that's what's going to help Caleb Williams a tremendous amount. Like I said, over 100 unguarded pressures last year. Like that's crazy. That's a crazy number, right? And so, I think that number is going to go down tremendously. And what you're going to be able to now get out of Caleb, as far as him just being able to be more of a quarterback, right? Because Caleb he can make plays with his legs, but that's not what Caleb really wants to do first. He wants to make that play with his arm first. So going downfield, he needs to make better decisions. He needs to be quicker on some. But I love what Caleb is going to bring there. And let's hope that the improvement on the offensive line helps accelerate that development by a huge margin. But Mason Graham at number 10, here's the thing, right? Mason Graham is a beast of a player. And if he does fall to number 10, it is one of those guys that while you did just sign Grady and all those type of things, like it's hard to pass up on the type of talent that Mason Graham is at the deep. Like the Bears would have to damn near have a perfect draft if Mason Graham is there at number 10 and they pass up on him, whether it's either trading back or whatever else it is. I agree with you. Like, all right, what are you going to do? You must have something very special in store because Mason Graham he's an amazing talent. I love what he can bring to the field. And we'll see. Maybe he is going to be in a Chicago Bears uniform. We'll see. All right, let's get into the next voicemail, man. This one's from Keys.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Keys on this lovely Sunday afternoon, man. Hope all is well with you guys. Let's get to it. Yeah, guys, I want to pose you guys a question, right? I've been watching football for quite a bit of time now, and maybe you guys could answer this better than me. When we look at the draft and we look at the Bears and everything like that, I'm trying to figure out what is it that makes Ashton Jeanty just this locked-in pick? This is just me asking the question. Not saying that he doesn't have talent, because I believe he does have very, very good talent. But to me, I think we already have that type of back or not necessarily that type of back, but there's something about him, in my opinion. Somebody may think I'm crazy when I say this, but in my opinion, I just don't see that stardom per se. You know what I'm saying? Now maybe I don't ever look or knock nobody for their size or nothing like that, because it's damn sure dominant backs in the NFL that are 5'9", 215. It ain't like we never had them before, even if they 5'8". You know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily that. It's just something that I look at and I see like he has that pop, he has this, he has that, but I don't think as far as transitioning, because there's some gaps in his game that I see that's like, I don't know, I'd rather go with somebody else. Because I look at everything, not just him getting the rock and toting it. I'm looking at him in the pass game, blocking. I don't know if he's really caught too many passes per se. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that he's not a talent. If he comes to the Bears, I think he would do very good things for us. But it's just like, in my opinion, I'd rather go with someone else. And I think maybe the best back that may be getting overlooked to me might just be Quinshon Judkins. Now, he can pass protect. He's physical. He's a bigger back. He can run the rock. Had he not transferred from Ole Miss, it's like he would probably be the one that would be like that 1 and 2. Then I also seen something with Omari in Hampton where some people were comparing him to DeAndre Swift, where he doesn't have this quote-unquote vision, but I just don't see that. But let me know what you guys think. Maybe I'm tripping, but that's just my opinion. As always, guys, Chi-Town up, bear down.
Great question here. What makes Ashton Jeanty so special? I think his explosion. The numbers, of course, are a big part of why people talk about him in the way that they do. But I also think his ability to read the gap, right? I think he does a really good job at that. He reads the gap really well. And I know there's the thing, well, he went to a smaller school, the level of competition that he faced. But, like, some of those things, when you watch tape, you understand that the way that he's processing certain things, that process is going to be there regardless of the level of competition that he faces. He does have speed. He does have a nice combination of strength as well and power, even though, like you said, he's kind of a shorter guy there. But I think when it comes down to it as well, it just like the level of talent that's different there. Like, he's above a guy like Hampton, but how far off do you see that? Like, I love Quinshon Judkins as well. That's my guy in this draft that I want to see the Bears drafted. They're going to go running back. I would love to see Quinshon Judkins be that guy. We know Ohio State, sue me, whatever it is there. But I would love to see that. But, if that's not the case, like, the Bears have a chance to get a really damn good running back in here. And I think that's overall the thing, whether it's Jeanty, whether it's Judkins, whether it's Hampton. Those guys bring talent and bring a different level of skill set that you love to see the team add to what they're trying to do offensively with Caleb, with their weapons. And we'll see what the future does hold there. But, guys, that's my time for today. Make sure you guys are following the show at Chi Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.